Pretty much all of the pensions talk in recent weeks has focused on inheritance tax. Pensions will be counted as part of your estate and liable to have IHT, inheritance tax, deducted on death when they pass on to the next generation. And many who have been hanging on to their pensions and spending other funds and investments are now looking at, yes, spending their pensions. Now, for many at the other end of the pensions ladder, that might be seen as a very nice problem to have. And quite likely Gen X, Z, Millennium or whatever might be thinking that they have as much chance of having pensions big enough to be inheritance taxable as they have of, well, in many cases actually buying a house. Part of the thinking, if there was much behind the changes, is that pensions are, or were supposed to be, used to provide an income in retirement. And that's why they've always had the tax breaks that they have, like tax relief on the payments in, tax breaks on the growth of the investments in the pension, and that tax-free cash you can take when you get to whatever the retirement age is. That retirement age is going up to a minimum of 57 from 2028, and watch that space, may well go up more and stay 10 years lower than the state retirement age, which is probably itself going to increase again. So how much should you be paying into a pension? How big a pension pot do you need to be able to retire? Two questions we are still often asked. And you won't be surprised to hear there's no right or wrong answer. But I often reply that very few ever get to retirement age thinking that they have too much in their pensions. Our old rule of thumb was that if you want a pension of half your salary or income at age 60 something, you should be paying in 10% of that income if you start when you're 20 something, 15% at 30 something, 20% at 40 something, and after that it's probably too late to worry. The good-ish news is that workplace pensions, auto-enrolment pensions, mean that most people will be encouraged to pay something near that 10% in. And we always say, pay more if you can, for the reason again that no one ever gets to that mystic retirement age thinking that they have too much. Half of your income might not be enough anyway when you do come to retire. So apart from just making sure as a Gen something you join any scheme you're offered, or if you have influence over one of those gens, that they join, the other advice I always give is look at how your money's actually invested, because beating the average and the fairly conservative growth assumptions that my 10, 15 and 20% are based on could make a big difference to your chances of a decent retirement pot. Now, when you join or you're also enrolled into a workplace pension, you'll be put into a default fund. That will usually be medium risk and often what's called a lifestyle fund, which means that the level of risk is reduced as you get older and supposedly near to retirement. But if it's at least 20 or 30 years at best before you can get your hands on that pension money, you should be taking more risk. And my advice is always to switch, which you can do via the online portal that all these schemes provide, to switch to a global equity fund or even an ethical equity fund, because the more risk you take, within reason, and no workplace pension will let you put it all into Bitcoin or property developments in some obscure Black Sea resort, and yes, that can be a thing. The more risk you take, the better you will do, with often more ups and downs, but you'll have enough time to weather those storms. And there will, of course, always be storms. I've just watched Trump in the Oval Office, enough said. Oh, one other thought. My daughter said to me when she first started to get involved with this stuff, they should tell us about this at school. And yes, wise words, they should.